helping.
Right? That's a big facade. You got a whole studio with like 900 people behind you. I know.
Right, for sure, for sure. Wow, look at that. Okay, so we've got a couple of people tuning in from LA, from India. Okay, hi. Oh, hi everyone. This is awesome. We have about 489 people right now on IG Live. Okay, let me see if I can request to join, accept. Okay, there we go. Yay, technology works.
All
Okay.
right.
All right, let's get the show on the road. Hi, everyone. I'm Xixi, and welcome to the Xixi X Nobody Studios live stream. So, the setup today is kind of cool because I actually have a laptop here, which is going live on StreamYard, and then I have my phone over here going live on IG Live. So, if you see my head and my eyes darting back and forth, just know that even though it is Wednesday, your girl is not going crazy. We're going to have so much fun today. Today, we are talking about something that I am extremely passionate about. We are talking about entrepreneurship. So, for those of you who have been following my journey, you know that I am an award winning entertainment journalist, and I'm also the co-founder of XYZ Media, and I am so passionate about content creation, about pushing for the next generation of entrepreneurs. Even in my own journey, I wouldn't be where I am today had it not been for the power of entrepreneurship. And I feel like we're living in such an exciting time, especially with social media, where now we have connections to everything, right? So for those aspiring entrepreneurs who are watching right now, looking to get funding, looking to get resources, you don't want to miss this show. For those of you who are looking for new ways to invest, this show is dedicated to you. I'm so honored because I'm so passionate about a new crowd infused content creation machine. It's a company called Nobody Studios. You might have seen me post about it on my Instagram at XIXIYANG plug. Make sure to follow if you haven't done so already. And I'm really honored to introduce to you the CEO and founder of Nobody Studios. He is our chief nobody, Mark McNally. How are you, Mark?
Cece, good to see you. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you.
Good to see you too. So, all right, for those of you who are watching, okay, Mark is only what, 5 minutes away from a beach right now?
Yeah. Don't let that fool you. Yeah, we have really awesome space, but we had to renovate it when we bought it. So
Okay. So Mark is currently in OC. I am here in Los Angeles. It is about 3:04 in the afternoon for us. So, Mark, let's dive right in. For those who are hearing about Nobody Studios for the first time, all right, this is your brainchild. This is your baby. This is something that's been in the works for the past 3 years. What can you tell them about Nobody Studios?
oh gosh. So Nobody Studios, if you want to really just get it down to like one really clean idea, we build companies for a living. And it's the germination of my career, which I've done 15 startups since I was a wee little kid. I was fortunate to have a really wild success when I was young. Took a company public when I was 25. And so I've kind of been on this startup journey ever since. And Nobody Studios is a culmination of that career, but a whole bunch of other founders in my world here that we all just said, hey, there must be a better way to bring ideas to life, faster, a little bit more aggressive, way more inclusive, different types of founders, different types of ideas, different types of countries. And how do we bring these companies to life as fast as possible and go and change the world? Right. In the big scheme of things, when I created Nobody Studios, and it's nobody for a reason because I always say it has to be bigger than any one personality. It's really going to be about the people who are attracted to this journey. But the concept was that we could build companies and make the world a better place in the process.
I love that. Okay, so I'm hearing some of you saying my audio isn't coming through. Can you guys hear me now?
How about that? Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear Mark. Can you guys hear me?
Okay. She can hear me good. Echo from Mark.
Now we an echo from
Adam, can we turn off the one of the mics maybe on that one?
Okay. Oh, you guys can hear me now. Okay, great. Okay, there we go. Now we could get the show on the road. Look at that. We got a laptop, we got phone, we're going live on two different platforms. technology, the power of technology. And I love hearing that story, Mark. Can you share with us a little bit about your journey, your experience, what you did before you launched Nobody Studios?
Yeah, as I touched on, I think my parents will tell you I always wanted to be a startup guy, whatever the heck that meant to me when I was a young kid. I did the service thing first, so I did 6 years Army Special Ops. And when I came out, I was really looking for a chance to prove I could build a company. And I always say it could have been a taco shop. Um, but I ran into a couple of people in the back of a warehouse in Las Vegas, and they had this idea they could connect buyers and suppliers on this new thing called the internet. And that was in 96. And so I joined as employee eight, and we grew that company to 800 employees. I rose to the number three company person in that company, and I ran everything that was product, marketing, strategy, and we took the company public on the Nasdaq and reached about a $4.5 billion market cap. So, 25-year-old Mark was like living his entrepreneurial dreams. The things I thought about when I was younger happened at a still a very young age. I built a ton of character when the market changed a couple years later, and the .com 1.0 changed and corrected itself. But I was a part of something special. I got a chance to see something go really small to something really big, and I was in every meeting, in every room, and so the whole process of what it looks like to become really big was demystified for me. And I've always said that was a gift. I think for me, I've carried that throughout my journey ever since. I know that if I get the people right, the execution right, and the why right, the sky's the limit to anything we do. And I've been doing startups ever since. So I've done 14 other startups. Some of them worked out. About a third of them had exits. Um, and the rest of them are still out there. But I've just been passionate about this whole startup space, entrepreneurs, founders. I've been a small angel investor, a mentor to another couple dozen companies. And about 3 or 4 years ago, I was at the spot. I just came off a small exit and had some things in the family that required, appropriate, attention, just health and kind of resetting. And at the same time, I've been working 80-hour weeks my whole life. And that whole process was meant to say, I asked myself, what is the next chapter going to be? Like the second half of my career. And it wasn't going to be about the next company I create. It wasn't going to be about the next paycheck or title. It was going to be about something way bigger than me. And I did a whole bunch of soul searching, and some people are listening right now that I reached out to and picked their brains and asked them a lot of questions about what I got right and wrong in my career and vice versa. But it all led to this idea that if we get company creation right, we can really impact a lot of people, not just in wealth creation, but making the world a better place. And it felt worthy of the legacy I was hoping to create. I was cognizant at the time that I was building machine learning and AI algorithms, and my boys were like 8 and 9. I'm like, in a couple of years, they're going to ask me what I do for a living, and I better have a better answer than trying to explain an algorithm. And while machine learning is still part of what we do, I'm proud that they really get that we're trying to make the world a better place, and we're are strengthened by the people who are getting a part of Nobody.
Wow. you know, Machine learning and AI is truly all the rage now, right? Like we're seeing so many new companies pop up. It really has completely changed the way that we work, we communicate. But I think one thing that you touched up on, which is so important, is that, oftentimes entrepreneurs feel so compelled to serve the community, to create something that better human lives, right? That better the way we communicate, the way we work, whatever it is. A lot of entrepreneurs have an idea, but they often struggle on how to get that idea launched off the ground running, right? And when you look at the number of statistics of businesses that fail within the first 2 to 3 years, it's really discouraging because I think what most small businesses fail. I think 90% of all small businesses fail within the first 2 to 3 years. So it's sad. And I think part of the problem is that, a lot of the entrepreneurs nowadays, we need guidance, right? We not only need funding, but we need guidance. We need the right resources to structure the entity in a correct way that allows for growth, that allows for certain things to happen. One question I would love to ask to sort of clarify for those who are not so in the investment world, maybe it's someone with an idea that wants to get into wants to launch their business is what is the difference between crowdfunding and equity funding?
Oh, good question. So, I mean, we actually are hybrid. We're crowd equity funding. So crowdfunding is something we've seen for 10, 20 years. You think of like Kickstarter, someone wants to build something, you put a little money into it and maybe you get a t-shirt, right? It just changed about 3 or 4 years ago where anybody could buy shares into an early stage company. And that means you could sell equity. And that wasn't allowed before. You had to be essentially a millionaire to buy into early stage companies. So when that changed, it was a really profound effect because people who could vote with their own pocketbook, if they believed in a company, they believed in an idea, they could involve themselves early. If you're an early investor in Facebook, you made 1,000 times your money by the time they went public. It's not hard to be rich if you can make 1,000 times your money routinely, right? And that's exactly what's happened with a lot of early stage investments, but it was always blocked out from the average investor. So we're really proud that we think we've blazed the boundaries and in the path in terms of making sure that anybody can be part of the venture studio, which is nobody's studio. We're creating companies from scratch. They own a piece of everything we do, which means they own a piece of everything we sell and we, profit from in the future. And it wasn't easy, to be honest, to figure that out. We had to spend a lot of time with, attorneys and accountants and everything else to figure out how to do this. But in the very beginning, we said that we would be stronger the more people who are involved in this journey, because we'd have their passions, their ideas, their network, their experiences, their instincts. And so the crowd is nobody. It's our rocket fuel. And so we really made sure that we made this available to the masses from day one.
I love that. Hence the name Nobody Studios, right?
There you go. There you go.
I love it. Genius concept, and we do living such an exciting time. And what are some of the companies that you guys are currently working on? What do you look for in companies?
Great question. So first and foremost, we look for companies that are going to have an impact on the world in a positive way. So it means there's some things we don't do. It doesn't matter what the business model is. You're not going to convince us to do things that could harm people. We get really out of bed and we think if we get this right, we're going to make the world a better place. And then from a business mechanics perspective, we're looking for companies that can scale socially, where there's what's called product-led growth, meaning people that use the product and enjoy the product grows. Facebook's a great example, most people know, or Instagram or everything else. It only works because the people are using it, right? If you're in a corporate environment, Slack is a good example. You're trying to communicate with people, but communication with Slack means you're communicating with more people, meaning Slack grows. So I really like betting on the fact that a product has value. And if you have value, then you succeed. And so we're attracted to that kind of business model. And then our investment thesis, not to get too nerdy on it, but we invest small amounts to try to create viable businesses in the shortest period of time. So if somebody has a long-term research and development project that's going to take, 10 years and gazillions of dollars, fantastic opportunity for another investor. It's just not us.
You're like, we need to see some real world application right now.
We're very focused on this immediate impact. You put something out there, you think it's really great, and then you watch, maybe people don't like it. Okay, great, but you still learn, and it makes you better, and you learn faster, and you grow faster, and so it's a big part of our ethos.
Yeah, that's great. And can you also share with the audience a little bit about the progressive filters, right? I learned about it and I thought it was so cool of how you guys have these targeted filters that basically really increases the return by deciding which companies to focus on at what time.
Yeah, so progressive, we can spend hours on it. Basically, the easiest way to think of it is in a traditional investment scenario, you're spending a lot of time trying to decide, is this something I really, 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 really believe in? Because you're making a decision that's probably a long-term thing. And we look at it like, that sounds like a cool idea. Let's put a little bit of money into it and see what happens. And then if it shows us, bear fruit and we have stronger conviction, then we put more into it. So think of progressive as like hurdles. There's certain stages that we want a company to be at, certain things we want to see it accomplish. And we're there to watch it grow and thrive. But if we learn something, it can be something I'm passionate about, but it fails, we have to sit there and deal with that fact. Okay, Mark's passionate about it, but it's failing. He needs to pause. The point being, as a studio and our investors, we're not blindly investing into things we like. We're making small bets that are building conviction and confidence to make bigger bets. And it kind of changes the paradigm of investment because we're not overthinking the earliest decisions. You can just say, like that team, like the concept, let's give it a shot and see where it goes. And you can let the system tell you if you should keep going.
I like that. And obviously, Nobody Studios has a really ambitious goal of launching 100 companies in the next 5 years. That sounds crazy. That
Yeah,
really sounds crazy. Super
yeah.
ambitious. But you know what? Crazy gets us places, all right? So so can you kind of break it down for us a little bit about, how Nobody Studios plans to do that?
Yeah, so one way to get your head around it is first of all, we're hyper focused on the startup phase. So grab a cool idea from a whiteboard or an early stage and get it into the point where it's got market validation, meaning you know how to grow it and people are willing to pay for it. And then the regular venture community does what it does. It's really great at looking at those kind of companies, giving it capital, letting it scale. We're just trying to play our role. So if we're trying to build 100 companies over the next 5 years, that's a lot to manage. We kind of look at it, it's a fraction of that. We're trying to do 10 or 15 a year. And at some point within a year and a half, they're kind of handed off to the next phase, which means they're scaling. They have their own team, they have their own capital, right? And within that, 10 or 15 we're trying to do in that frame, we're trusting the system itself to qualify the ones that are worth doubling down on, figure out which ones we have to pause or take off the shelf. Um, and we're really counting on the crowd. It's one of the reasons why we are doing crowd equity funding. To be totally honest with you, Xixi, it's not the most efficient place to go find capital,
Mhm.
right? I could have found capital way faster, way easier. We have great sources of capital. This was never a capital play for us. It was a play to say there's nothing better than have people who bought into the journey, who believe in what we're trying to do, and want to become nobodies. Because now their vision, their passion, their ideas, their networks, their experiences, all those things become part of the studio and makes us stronger. So at the end of the day, when we're trying to play with, is this a company we should create or not? We have our opinions, but we're not the smartest people in the room. We're also going to go out to the crowd and inform ourselves. Or if we're saying there's three we can do, we have to pick one. What do you guys think? Again, it's not a complete democracy, but all that is data inputs. It helps us decide which ones to pursue or not.
That's really fascinating. Now, from my time of joining the Nobody community, I was absolutely blown away by the incredible resources and how everyone is so helpful, supportive. Are there any stories of nobodies that, that truly touched you that you could think of that just made you realize, wow, we're building a legacy here. We're building a community.
Gosh, you touched me with that one. Honestly, the people has been the thing that has touched me the most in this entire journey. It was a little bit by design, starting with the brand and the language we use and the kind of vibe we tried to be at. But I don't even think, and there's a lot of dreams I can tell you, yeah, I probably had a bigger vision than that. I couldn't have hoped that we'd have the caliber of people we have today that we do. We just really attracted a world class team, and it reflects in everything that happens after that. Good people doing things for the right reason, taking care of each other. So, yeah, I'm not sure I could point to any one example. I guess one that comes to mind is we did a small acquisition of a company called Thoughtforma, and it's a brilliant team out of London, and it's part of our team and our portfolio. And it's a company that's called Low Code, No Code, meaning it helps you build technology without writing code. And it's part of our
Wow.
strategy to be finding building blocks. So if you think about we're building lots of companies and you have a company that helps you do low code, no code, you can build companies faster, right? So trying to be smart about it. But that whole transaction started out with a single relationship with one of our co-founders, Barry O'Reilly. Um, and we connected dots with those founders and they said, we had this conversation like, should we merge or not? And we were really transparent. Like we don't know how to do this. It is in our strategic plan. One of our DNA points is to be transparent. So if you guys want to go down this path, we're going to lean into that, which means maybe the best case is we walk out of here knowing better how to handle these conversations, but it may not work out. And we just kept leaning into transparency. And so every deal point, this doesn't feel right, or this feels right, or I wish I'd say it just helped us get through the worst of times in that transaction. Long story short, we got the deal done. They're a huge part of the studio. Love these guys together. But I met the brothers, Jason and Gareth Edge, the first time June in London last year. And this is almost 15 months after we first met and started working together. In fact, one of our company's ovations, led by Ray Leonard Jr., is built on Platforma. Anyway, I met Jason Gareth Edge the very first time in London at a pub at 11 o'clock at night. I went straight from Heathrow, and there's three grown adults hugging it out. You know, like we've known each other for 20 years, and we'd only been virtual.
Wow, that is so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so, oh man, that's so, it's so incredible, right? Just to meet so many like-minded people. And one thing I've noticed about the entrepreneurs community is that everyone is, look, they know the risks, right? There are not a lot of people who are willing to risk it all, the stability and everything, without thinking about how they can make the world a better place. No one is just doing it for money, right?
Yeah.
If you are just motivated by money and doing it for money, you're probably going to get phased out at some point because there are hurdles of challenges that you have to overcome. So speaking of those challenges, do you have any words of wisdom just from your plethora of experience, how long you've been in the industry? Do you have anything that you like to share to the aspiring entrepreneurs out there?
I'll only say exactly what I've said for 20 years as a mentor and a small investor, and I had to practice what I preach. Tell your story. So when I created the Nobody Studios idea, and it's become something way bigger because I have all these great founders around me, but I decided to create a circle of 100 people in my network and equally balanced for people I know would love my idea, people I thought would hate my idea, and maybe some people in the middle. Some people have known me 20 years, some people have known me for a year. And I just started calling and saying, I'm working on this thing. Here's the premise. This is kind of what it looks like. What do you think? And I always tell people, tell your story, because so much time is wasted on the perfect PowerPoint or the perfect MVP. And if you want to be honest, it's hiding your own insecurities. You're afraid to go tell your story until you think you can show something perfect. And that's probably not the right product anyway. And that PowerPoint was not the thing. You're the thing. So I always tell people, tell the story, because your product gets better, your idea gets better, your invention gets better the more you tell the story. And so I embrace that, and people around me, my wife, my family, my boys who watch me do this in the garage are listening. I just sat there. They're like, what are you doing all day calling people? I'm like, I telling the story. And I kept telling the story until people said, this makes some sense to me. You know who you need to talk to? And one thing led to another. That's how I met Barry O'Reilly. Or someone said, you know what? I want to invest. How much you raising? Or I know a guy who would invest in this. I know a girl who would invest in this. And if you tell your story and you're onto something, you almost can't put it back in the bottle. It starts to take a life of its own. That's what happened for me, and that's my biggest advice.
Oh my gosh, Mark, as you were just describing that, I was literally getting goosebumps everywhere because I resonate with that so much. And I have learned from my personal journey, my experience, the more I lean into who I am, my cultural background, and my personal experiences, the more I lean into it, the more I have resources that can guide me to get to the next level. Because I'm going to take a quick second to share a little bit about my story for those who are, watching me, listening to the live stream, getting introduced to us for the first time. So I am an award-winning entertainment journalist, but my journey was hard because I actually moved to LA about a little bit over a decade ago, wanting to pursue a career on TV as a TV host, right? This was during a time when everybody wanted to be the next Ryan Seacrest, Juliana Rancic. Well, I marched into every single network and I was told no in so many different ways. I was told that I was too green, I was too inexperienced, I was too, too energetic, too this, too that, right? And I just got so frustrated. I knew I wanted to get better on camera, but I thought, how can I get better if nobody wants to hire me, right? What do I have to do? How am I going to improve? So this was about 2011, 2012. I saved up enough money to buy a little handheld camera and a karaoke mic, because those mics are a lot more affordable than like a real studio microphone. So I went around town and I started literally crashing red carpets that I was not even invited to. I didn't get approved. So I would wait outside by the exit door and total like a kind of like a paparazzi almost, right? As soon as the celebrities would leave, that's when I would shove a little microphone in their face, try to get my question in. Gosh, looking back, it was so embarrassing, it was so invasive, but that's what gave me my experience. And I had to learn how to build my own website. I had to learn how to turn my passion into a LLC. I had to figure out
Yep.
taxes, figure out how to get funding, figure out how to sell advertisements, get sponsors, get investors on board. So I ended up turning a pop culture website into a local show here in Los Angeles. And that's kind of my background of how I was able to get discovered by, some of the bigger networks like Associated Press, CNN, HLN. And because, looking back on my journey, because I literally had no budget to, hire videographers, hire web developers, hire editors, I had to learn how to do everything by myself. And looking back,
Yep.
I'm so thankful for that journey, because even on the level that I am now, I know how to. Thankfully, I do have a little bit of budget to put together a team now, but I'm so grateful because now I know how to do all layers of the operation, which
Yep.
really helped me to bring my company and get my company to the next level.
I think that's brilliant, and it's so in line with our culture as well. It doesn't really matter what amount of money we have in the bank in terms of our coffers. Like we will always be resource constrained and time constrained, because I just know it gets the best out of people. Because I've seen it for myself. I've seen it. I can tell from you. I can see it from my wife and all my favorite entrepreneurs and founders that are in my network. Everybody's got the story you just told, and you can call it the hustle factor, but there's something that you can tell what people do when they need to make something happen. And when you get too financed and you just think things happen, it's like academic. I have enough money. Here's a plan. You pour it in here and things happen. It's like, no, very, very few companies ever play out that way. There's always a personality spark. There's always a character. There's always a hustle. And you need to keep that until the end of the day. People who've made the most successes in the world, if you judge it from money, they hustled to their last day. And I just
Wow.
really believe it's a personality factor that you're looking for.
Yeah, it really is. Wow,
Yeah.
that's so powerful. I mean, I've I've walked into rooms, hoping to get investment and whatnot. Oh my gosh, I've just thinking back on the journey, it's crazy because it's not easy. And half the time, you're questioning your own sanity. You're like, what am I doing this for? Is this idea actually going to take off? Is it actually going to go somewhere? Or is everybody right? And I should just, give up and pursue something else. It truly is so
But
rewarding looking
but what
back.
are your best lessons, right? You can go to school for 4 years, or you walk into a room thinking you're about to raise money, and you walk away hearing out you're not. What's going on in your mind and your soul and your energy and your self-learning in that moment? It's a
Yeah.
thousand times more powerful than 4 years in school. The
Yeah.
next time you walk in, you're more determined, you're more prepared, you're more ahead of it, right? That's why I say
Yeah.
tell the story. Just be out there, lean in. People who try to hold it back, and there's always an insecurity. There's something in their way of them actually leaning into being what they need to be. And
Yeah.
I always believe that if you vibrate at the right level, you attract
Mhm.
the right people to your journey. And there's no way to vibrate at the right level if you're holding back. You've just got to lean in.
Gotta lean in, right? Gotta lean in. Man, even thinking about the times when I was told by different agents, different powerful people in town to, change my name to something that they can pronounce. And I'm so glad I stuck with Xixi Yang, because now I, have a beautiful, beautiful way to open conversations, and I can share my culture, share who I am. And plus, Jessica Yang, Elizabeth Yang, all that doesn't really sound like me anyways. So we got to
No,
lean
no, no.
into who we are.
My wife's named Marichel. She's got an X in her name, and I think it's become a beautiful part of her journey because it's almost like forcing people to say the name differently. It kind of just it tells you who you need to, who's your filter. It's an automatic filter, right? But she'll tell the story of Salma Hayek, who showed up to Hollywood, who's a big star in Mexico, and she's like, "I want to be in Hollywood." They're like, "Who's your agent?" She's like, "I don't have an agent." Like, "Well, who have you acted for? What movies have you been in?" "I haven't been in any Hollywood." "How do I get in there?" "You need an agent." "Well, how do I get an agent?" You know, so she just
Right.
kind of made her statement in the middle of CAA lobby, and some agent walked out and said, "I'll take you." But
Wow.
you have to declare yourself. And J Lo's got the same story with Tommy Mottola, exact same
Yeah.
story. They were going to give her some junior contract. She's like, "Nope, not until I touch Tommy." They're like, "Tommy doesn't meet people like you." She's like, "He will today." Like, there's times you got to bet on yourself and you got to lean in, you got to demand attention. And people think that this just like you just get discovered. You're just walking down the street and someone's like, "You deserve to be something." No, life is about fighting for it, earning it, lean into it. Like, yeah, we all have some natural talent, but if you wanted to count up all the people who have natural talent who never saw their full potential, like, there's something that you all got to click in and lean into. It's easier if you have a team around you that also can embrace you and see what you don't see or kind of augment your weaknesses. And that's certainly what we're trying to do.
Wow, that's really cool. And I also tell a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs, it feels crazy until you get that one yes. When you get that yes and you're looking back on your journey, everybody is going to call you a genius. But until you get there, right? You're going to feel crazy. You're going to feel like the young Salma Hayek standing in the lobby of CAA asking for a quick meeting with one of the biggest agencies in the world.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah. You got to believe in yourself and the rest will follow.
I love that. Now, for those who are watching, who are interested in, investing with Nobody Studios, can you share with us a little bit about the journey? How can they get on board?
Yeah, so it was a big journey for us to get this right, and we're really proud to announce a crowdfunding that we launched right after Christmas. So anybody can go to republic.com, which is one of the leading crowdfunding sites, and it's republic.com/nobody studios. So really simple. But we did all the legal work and the audits and everything, got approved by SEC to list our shares so that anybody could buy it. Meaning you didn't have to be an accredited investor, you didn't have to be a millionaire. So it means we're able to get people at $100 or $500 or $1,000 literally around the world. And the people who have joined the journey and the messages that we've gotten back and even the early interaction has been one of the most gratifying parts of this entire journey for us, certainly for me, is it's almost like something we thought about for a long time, but now seeing it. People we don't know from around the world reaching out and having an idea or passion or connection and just making us stronger is just super, super exciting. And one thing I'd point out for people who are wondering, you invest once in the studio, it means everything that we ever create, you get your piece in that company. So there's not an independent
Ah,
investment or an independent decision making. If you believe in what New Wave Studios is doing, then whatever we create, you're part of. And then our business model is we sell companies, we take a little bit back in the studio so we can build more companies, and the rest goes out to our shareholders. So if we get this on any scale of being right, people are making an investment, but they're seeing their investment come back every time we exit. And at some point, it's all just gravy. In addition to still owning a piece of the studio, which we think is going to be quite valuable over time.
that's really cool. I love that model. Now, for the entrepreneurs who are, looking for funding, looking for resources, how can they join the Nobody community?
Yeah, great question. So first of all, we're an open book. So you can reach out anytime. I'm Mark at Nobody Studios. Barry is Barry at Nobody Studios. Min is the head of our idea lab. Min at Nobody Studios. Kiara. You can reach out anytime. You can go to our website. We've got a links and some process you can go through. But I'll tell you one thing. It's impossible to do all the ideas that we might like, right? But one of the things we're trying to get really good at is lean into the fact that we love entrepreneurship, we love founders, and even if it's not something that we greenlight or it's even for us, we're going to lean into you as a founder. So we're going to say, hey, this is our feedback, something you might think about. Here's 3 people you should meet. Call us back if you have any other idea. People don't realize. They think, I know when I was starting out raising capital, you think in this like altruistic, perfect world, I had the right business model, I'm the right person, therefore it should be blessed. It's way more complicated than that, right? The
Right.
odds of you getting financed are very, very low because they already have investments in a certain category, or there's only a certain amount of capital, or it's already allocated. There's so many reasons that have nothing to do with you. And so that's why people have to realize it's a numbers game. Tell the story,
Mhm.
tell the story, tell the story. But my best interactions with VCs, to be honest, were some of the ones that didn't invest in me.
Mhm.
That I built a really great relationship, liked them a lot, and they said, I can't do it for this reason, it has nothing to do with you or your company. However, I like you, I like your company. Here's three things I would do, and here's two people. And we really strive to be that, even if we can't give people the green light that it's perfect fit for us. And there's a number of reasons why. Our model is we're a venture studio, meaning we build companies. So we're used to controlling the companies. And if you're too late stage, it's not going to be a fit, right?
Mhm.
If you're early stage, if you're young, we can usually make sense in terms of terms that'll make you happy, vice versa. But it doesn't mean that we don't love an entrepreneur at this later stage, or it's just not wrong fit, or we already have a bet in that space. Because I've never met an entrepreneur who only had one idea.
Mhm.
So I always tell people, well, maybe this is not the one, but the next one, yeah. Or maybe you want to pursue that one, but do something else with us right now. Like we really are trying to embrace human nature, and so I just think that openness and the way we're trying to vibe, I think, is attracting some pretty cool people to our journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And adding on to what you were saying, I think most entrepreneurs suffer from what I like to call, or what everyone calls, the shiny object syndrome, which is they hop from one thing to another, right? It's
Yeah.
like one week, oh, I have this idea, I have that idea, and then, but we actually have to like see it to fruition, and it's definitely not easy. Are there any specific tips that you can give to business owners when they are, when they are looking for funding, when they are positioning themselves, going into a room to ask for capital? What should they do, and what should they also avoid doing?
Um, Gosh, I would just say, first of all, the fundraising world is so different today from what it was even 10 years ago, let alone when I started my career. It seemed like there was a dance card. You only had like, it's almost like you when you started out in Hollywood. There's only like five or six studios and three or four places you get picked up. Now you got streaming, now you got local, now you got so many different areas. You got online. There's so many more opportunities to find your voice. And I think the same way is in investment, to be honest. The angel community right now is so way more robust than it's ever been. The access to it, the way to communicate to it, crowdfunding, venture capital has gone through a complete reinvention. Maybe there was 100 leading venture capitalists, 15 years ago. Now there's probably 1,000 I haven't heard of who are writing $10 million checks. Some really great, credible, firms that are being created because it's a domino effect of like Snap or Uber. People have these huge exits, and what do? They go create their own venture firms. So there's
Mhm.
more opportunities than ever to pitch yourself. But again, it becomes a numbers game. Lean in, don't take anything personal. Pitch, pitch, pitch. If you're not doing it 10, 15 times a day, you're not going to succeed. Don't think you're going to have a magic bullet.
I love that. And I feel like we're living such an exciting time right now with, with AI, machine learning, right? I just learned how to use chat GPT to help me operate as a team all by myself.
Right.
When you're looking at the direction of how everything is going in tech, in the way that we communicate in media, in so many different industries, what excites you the most about the future?
Uh, um, Gosh. First of all, I love the future of technology, but one of the things is a thesis of the studio is this whole concept of paradigm shifts. So paradigm shift is something that makes you recalculate everything, like the internet. I've lived through that. You lived through that. This is something that didn't exist when I was born. It's changed entire industries. It's changed every major company that was on the Fortune 2000 when I was born compared to today. It's changed how people get elected globally. Like it's changed how we date, how we bank. That's the paradigm shift. But guess what? We've got crypto, we got AI, we've got longevity, we got robotics. We have so many other things that are in the category of paradigm shifts. Whereas the internet gave us 30 years, my entire adult life to live to grow up to and figure out how to adapt. Now we're dealing with like 5 to 10 at the same time. And the ripple effect that's going to have on industries is petrifying for most people. But for us, it's like thrilling because it's like there's so many ideas, opportunities to create because Any industry that's going to be disrupted and a new industry created is an opportunity to create something meaningful, impact the world, and make a great return for our investors. So all those areas thrill me. AI is something I've been a part of for 15 years. It's kind of coming into its full stretch right now, but AI was something for 40 years. It was about to be. This is the decade, and it's been the decade for like 4 decades. I think this is a decade that is true. But these things are compounding impacts. So when you ask me what excites me, it's not just AI or GPT is a great example that people can relate to. But what does GPT then have on top of robotics, on top
Mm.
of how that's going to apply to how we create pharmaceuticals? Like it's the ripple effect of these things that are going to take billion-dollar companies that exist today and make them irrelevant, or force them to acquire like crazy. And companies that are baby companies today are going to be billion-dollar companies tomorrow. So that's kind of where we play.
Wow. It's so exciting, right? What an exciting time to be alive.
Wouldn't trade it for my previous life.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Mark, looking back on your own personal journey, right? If you were to do it all over again, what advice would you give your younger self?
Ugh, really great question. I happen to be someone though that really prefers to live with no regrets. So I
Mm.
really think that I'm 100% at the right place at the right time in my life. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be leading this company. I'm supposed to be building what I'm building. So it'd be impossible to put a whole lot of energy into that, to be honest. Um, that being said, there's things that I would have done differently if I was just single-minded in terms of certain things I wish I had crossed off the bucket list. But I hopefully still have a whole life ahead of me and I can cross those things off later.
I love it. And you are doing such an incredible job building Nobody's Studios and the Nobody's community. And I'm a proud member. I'm a proud
We're
member.
honored.
And the experience has been it's been so rewarding because listen, whether you are an entrepreneur or an investor, you can't do it alone. You need a community. You need not just capital and funding, but you need resources. And thank you, Mark. Thank you for welcoming me into the Nobody family. It has been such an honor to chat with you and to get to know you, get to know our community. And yeah, and thank you so much for your time. For everyone who has enjoyed the live stream, please make sure to follow at Nobody Crowd on Instagram. And if you are looking to see how you can join Nobody Studios, either as an entrepreneur, a business owner, or an investor, make sure you go to republic.com/Nobody Studios. Again, this has been truly a pleasure, wonderful pleasure. Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you, everybody.
Xixi, pleasure's all ours. Thank you so much.
Yes, and Mark, let's do it again. Except next time, I'm gonna go to OC and we're gonna do this
You
on
gotta
the
come
beach.
down
How
to the
about that?
beach. Let's do it.
We're so close. All right. Thank you all. Have an amazing rest of the evening, night, wherever you all. Love everyone so much. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
All right.